Welcome to Juhl Media. My name's Ching Juhl. Thank you for tuning in for this live interview program. Since 2020, lockdown, COVID lockdown. Yeah, people cannot see each other. So I started to interview people. So far, I probably have interviewed and talked to close to 400 artists, musicians, filmmakers, entrepreneurs, activists, and many, many people. So today, we have very special guest. His name is Peter Sherman Crosby, and I met Peter. I'll tell you when he comes in. Okay, welcome, Peter. Hi, Peter.
Hi, Ching. How are you doing? That was
I'm
quite a
good.
nice intro. Good, good.
Thank you, thank you. So I always ask people like, how did we meet, Peter? How you and I
Well,
meet?
we have different recollections. I think it was at the Socially Responsible Film
No,
Festival.
relevant, socially
Relevant.
relevant.
That's it. Like 6 years ago.
Wow. Yeah.
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 But you think we met somewhere else?
I thought you and I met in Dark NYC. Maybe it's maybe the seat is same, the theater looks the same. I
May-
just I realized like you sat there and then it's like this like kind of cool guy, and then I was so afraid you wouldn't talk to me.
You were running. You were running around filming. You're always filming. It's amazing.
Thank you, thank you. So welcome, welcome. Yeah, and where are you right now? I'm in your city.
I'm in Tucson, Arizona. I ended here. I drove a van across the country, filming and making photos, and then I've been here in Tucson for now a year and a half editing all of that, my American series.
That's awesome. Thinking back, if you said 6 years ago, that's how we met, and from then to now, you're still doing the same thing. We still go to the same film festival, Dark NYC, and you you are a photographer, you are a journalist, you are a bicyclist, you are a world traveler, you are you're a van driver, you're a fucking filmmaker now. So tell us how to do all of this all so well.
I, I should put that on my business card. I'm a fucking filmmaker. Yeah, that's when we met, what happened between the time we met is I went to China to do a television series, bicycling across China for my second time. I did it the first time in 1994, but I moved to China in 2019, and then I experienced COVID, the pandemic, in China, which was a very, very different experience. There, it was very much more a public health emergency. It wasn't so politicized. So watching America from China have its kind of COVID shit show was disturbing. It was sad because so many people died and it just got so politicized. So that was one of the reasons when I came back, I wanted to drive across the country.
So what's the first time there's so many countries you can go, why you pick China when the very originally when you go first,
Um,
like
so
1990 whatever six you went to?
88.
Oh.
I actually, the first time I went to China, it was because I had a dream. I had a dream in the hospital. I'd had a bicycle accident and broken a bunch of bones, and I was in the hospital. And when you get out of the operation, you're in the post-op and you're sort of drugged up. And I had this dream about bicycling somewhere with bicycle bells and at night. And then the people came and visited me. They said, that sounds like Beijing. Have you been to Beijing? No. And so I got an assignment from the LA Times to go travel in China. And this was 1988. And, it just blew me away, right? China was just starting to develop, starting to open up. It was there's so much enthusiasm, excitement. And I fell in love with China in 1988.
That's really early. That's quite early. I mean, not as early. Isaac Stone went to China in 1976, but still very early. Now, at the time there were not so many foreigners, so to speak. They are you were the foreign devil, 洋鬼子, and now during the COVID, all the 洋鬼子 left. So tell us a little bit about the comparison. All these so many decades, 3 or 4 decades.
Well, in China, when I first went, I mean, many people hadn't seen a white person, and so especially in the rural areas, and they'd only seen them on TV. So it's very much a Lao Wai means basically not foreign devil. It's a ghost, and so people would want to touch my hair, touch my skin, my blue nose, my blue eyes, my big nose. But now, when I went back, there's so many more foreigners in Beijing and in the big cities that it's really not that unusual. And people rarely would take second notice. Every once in a while, somebody would want to have a photo with the foreigner, right? Do the selfie with the foreigner, which is always, I don't know, kind of weird. But that was before I did the television series Bicycling Across China. And that was very popular. That had a lot of traction. It was on CCTV, the National Television Network. It's also on a big video platform called Watermelon Video in China. And so that I haven't been back. I haven't been back since then, but I've been told that I'll be more recognizable.
So the series I saw, where you rode bicycle along the way, and then you met local people, and you actually made a really good relationship with a whole family. When
Mhm.
was that?
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that the
yeah.
first time or second time?
Well, the
Uh-huh.
first time I met them was 1994,
Hmm.
and they were so generous, they were so kind. So when
Uh-huh.
I started going back to China 20 years later, I went and looked for them. I went and found them, and so I literally made a TV series about finding the Liu family, um,
Yeah.
and then that became the part of the story of bicycling across China.
So
Was
is the
the
Finding New Family online, or it's a combination in your new series? The
so
Finding
the
the Yeah.
so the Liu family it's some of it. There's one version of it is on my YouTube channel. One version of it is on CGTN. I can give you the link for that.
Oh, yeah, you
Um,
can write it in
because
the
it
private chat.
has the whole series. Yeah.
I have your website. Do you think you can find it? I can
Uh,
share your website.
which website?
Oh, no, sorry, sorry. I have your YouTube channel. I
Yeah.
can pull it up.
So there's two things. One is the
You want me to
one.
put it down?
Well, one is simply the YouTube. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll put it down, then you can tell me which one.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. So that's your YouTube channel. You want to show us a little bit excerpts of something? Do you see it?
Um,
You see it?
sure. Well, if we're talking about China, let's look at
Okay.
so the perspective from China
Yeah.
is explained in the first YouTube episode, and that's
Oh,
that's called basically what the fuck has happened to America, right? And
okay.
so that's the one you
Yeah,
see it
this one.
there. You can
Yeah,
play a
this one.
couple of minutes of that, and that gives the China backstory and then America.
Oh, okay. 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 What the F?
Want to know how I got here? Let's go back to the beginning.
I'm Peter Crosby.
My name's Peter Crosby. My name's Peter. My name's Peter Sherman Crosby, an American photojournalist and documentary filmmaker who's traveled the world for 50 years. Now I'm traveling across the USA with my live-in van and a cool gravel bike. Am I crazy? To answer one question about America that's been bugging me for years. What the hell is happening to my beautiful country?
This is civil disobedience. We are going civilly and believe.
I can't fucking figure out why we all have to be so divided.
Yeah. We've got to learn to listen. We've got to learn to communicate. We've got to find a path for peace.
Wow, that was awesome. That was awesome.
That's the beginning of the American series, the U.S. series.
Yeah.
And so there you get a little background from China and my perspective of watching America from China, and not understanding the political divides, not understanding how COVID became so out of control. And so when I came home from China after 4 years there and making the television series, I just didn't feel at home. And so I bought an RV. I've never owned an RV. I bought an RV and drove across the country and went and looked for people that I wouldn't normally meet. So I went to motorcycle rallies. I went to the People's Convoy, was a nationwide protest against vaccine and masks. I met Christian nationalists. Just all sorts of people that I normally wouldn't meet. And then that gave me a lot more insight into America.
Wow. Wow, that's awesome. I always wanted to be a journalist like you are, really deep into the lives of people, right? And not watching TV, looking somebody else tell you what was going on. Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
exciting. Yeah, so exciting. So tell us about the idea of putting your TV series on YouTube. And are you going to keep doing it? And when is the next episode?
Yeah. So when I finished the journey across America, I took 11 months to do that. And then that was 2022, 2023. I spent a lot of the time trying to put it together into a documentary film, into a personal documentary film where I'm telling the story. But I met so many people, and so many of the experiences were incidental. I'd meet somebody for an hour, I'd meet somebody for a day, right? So I couldn't really go in depth with people, and I found it too difficult to make a documentary film. But that's perfect for YouTube, where I can make episodes and I can tell, 3 or 4 people's stories or 3 or 4 experience in each episode, and then string those together. I've made 3 episodes so far, published the first one, and I'm going to give people today access to the second episode, which I haven't really pushed out. So any folks that are here today that are interested in seeing that second episode, you can go and see the rest of the first episode, which is what you just saw, which is, what the hell happened to America. It's what the happened to America. Because I didn't want to use the F word.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get that. You can.
That was so tight. That was such I love the rhythm of this episode.
Well, it's beautifully made,
Mhm.
and here's the thing, right? I'm mostly a photographer, and then mostly a techie, actually, and so making into really solid TV quality video, I had to hire editors. I had to hire professional editors to put together at such high quality. Well, that took much more time and much more money than I expected. So that's why I've only finished 3 episodes. I think I'll be able to do another 2, and then I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go do some fundraising in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, that's great. I'm gonna put the link in the description later. And actually, I have the link here. I can put the link in also here and description later. All right, so that's wonderful. Yeah.
Okay.
So tell us a little bit backwards. How did you get into the photography and into art? Were you like, a biologist or something before that?
Never, never. I mean, studied economics and realized I went into business, like big business, like bond sales, like Wall Street stuff, and I hated it. I mean, literally within 1 year, I was out of there. So I've mostly been involved with different startup companies, and then I went and studied journalism at UCLA in California. And from then, I was an editor of different magazines in LA and then in Tokyo. I managed 2 different magazines in Tokyo. So that's where I really just took off with my photography and traveling the world. And I was single and 30 something and traveling around the world selling stories to National Geographic or Asia Week or the in-flight magazines of like United Airlines or Japan Airlines. And so that was just, yeah, I'm glad I did it then, because I couldn't do it now. So that's the beginning of real professional photography portfolio.
And you lived in New York City, and then you moved to Arizona now. Yeah. Is it just like you drive around and just landed in Tucson?
Yeah, really. I mean, I've lived mostly in New York City, San Francisco, and LA. So I've lived in those 3 places, each of them 3 times. So and then I've lived in Tokyo. I lived in Tokyo for 5 years, Hong Kong for a year, went to film school in Beijing, and so yeah, I've moved around, and so Tucson's pretty quiet. Tucson's it's great for bicycling, right? So I've got my bike here. I can go bicycling in the mountains, but mostly I sit in front of monitors. I've got 3 monitors here, and just fry my eyeballs out trying to tell these stories and working with different editors, because I want to make sure that I am able to put together an accurate picture of Americans' experience, not so much as I tell it, but as they tell it, right? So I meet and allow other people to have their say about their politics, about their, there's a whole theme because about Chinese Americans, because I know lots about China. And then when I came back to the United States, I realized I don't know that much about Chinese in America, but there's 170 years of history of Chinese immigration and contribution to the country, and frankly, the Chinese Exclusion Act. I mean, real prejudice. So one of my themes going across the country was exploring Chinatowns, was dragon boating. I went dragon boating in 4 different cities, right? The long boat with 20 people. It's a traditional Chinese sport. I first learned it in China. And so I went dragon boating in Philadelphia, in Chicago, in Salt Lake City, and in San Francisco with teams. I mean, it's a very popular sport here, dragon boating. Who knew?
That's great. You're so sporty, So tell us a little bit about, like I said, I'm fascinated with the journalism, being a journalism, doing things for journalist, or what kind of people do you think there's special kind of people wanting to do this kind of work, right? And what are the quality and desire for someone want to be a journalist?
Well, I think it's shifted a lot, because when I went to journalism school, it was in the 1980s, and journalism was much more rigorous. It was much more fact-based. Organizations like the big networks and Wall Street Journal and these publications, right? National Geographic, you'd work to get into your portfolio up to the standard where they would accept your work. And so there was much more of a kind of a bottleneck around being heard, being seen. But now anybody, anywhere, any brain fart, and your iPhone, your whatever, and you're a quote unquote journalist. So this is part of what has undercut the belief, the trust in journalism is because so many people can just say such bullshit and say it over and over and over again. And now you've got AI images to flood things that are completely untrue. So we're in a new time of journalism. I would actually say it's like going back to the early days of journalism, what they used to call yellow journalism, which is all these different publications competing with each other, trying to make money like that. You know, if you ever watch Citizen Kane, right? You know, that film Citizen Kane with Orson Welles, who directed it and stars in it. That gives you an idea of what that was made in the 1930s. What did big publishing look like, and how cutthroat it was, and how nasty it was? Well, we've kind of gone back to that, and so yeah, it's I think it's a shame, but it's also, here's the important thing: people then have to educate themselves about what are the voices, where are the facts, what are the sources, right? And I think there's a lack of understanding and lack of education in America that allows people to decipher that, right? Kind of a media literacy. And gosh, I would love to see media literacy being taught in our schools, so that, you know, young people especially grow up with some skepticism, grow up with some, okay, well, that's great that you say, you know, something outrageous. Where are the facts? Show me the sources. You know, I don't believe this photo. I don't believe this image. I don't believe this video. Anyway, that's my, I'm on my soapbox there about media
Yeah.
literacy. Damn it.
Media literacy. How do you say that in Chinese? Media
Oh,
literacy.
well, measured out. Well,
Finally, Peter speaks Chinese. That's very
in,
impressive. Yeah.
in China,
Uh-huh.
right? Though the messages are filtered, because there's so much
Yeah.
censorship on the internet that many things that are very controversial, many things that maybe aren't very well researched or very factual, they disappear from the internet.
Yeah.
So, especially
Yeah.
if they're criticizing the government.
Yeah, I was going to ask a question. Number one question is that when you were filming or shooting your video or film, did you think about your audience? Are your audience Americans or Chinese or everybody? That's
For
one
for
question.
for the American series, it's an American story. I mean, I imagine some people from outside of America might find it interesting. It's an even-handed. I mean, I believe in America and the ideals and the generosity and warmth of people, but there's a lot of things that aren't working, and there's a lot of people who are really angry at each other, and so I'm showing all of that story. And so the audience so far is mostly United States, and then
Mm,
because I've spent a lot of time in Asia, I've got some fans in Asia,
mm,
and it's the series so far. Most of the visitors and subscribers on my YouTube channel are female, but the YouTube series, this "What the Fuck Happened to America" series, is, oh, I said the F word. Sorry.
mm.
The what the
You're
what
gonna be arrested.
the what the happened to what happened to America.
Yeah.
That's a more of a male audience. So you know, I'm figuring it out. YouTube is a very different world. Ching, you're very sophisticated and understand the YouTube world and understand the data and audiences, and you know, you're really just miles ahead of me and many people. The YouTube environment, I mean, it's its whole separate universe, and very sophisticated now and very scientific. And there's lots of people who are making money on it, but 99% of people don't make any money on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah. I make a lot of money, you know. I make
Yeah.
like $10.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a lot of money, you know.
Yeah.
Consider people click on my video, I make 1 cent, you know.
There you
But
go.
you know, for me, I shouldn't talk about myself, but for me, YouTube is a library for me. It's where
Mm.
I store my stuff, and I
Hmm.
look at it. I'm happy. If someone want to look at my work, go check my YouTube channel. So it's like I never really was hoping I will make a lot of money.
Yeah,
No, I don't
and
think so.
that's the sort of the reality that I've come to as well. I want to put out this series about crossing America. I've planned 13 episodes. I've done 3. I
Yeah.
think I can do 2 more, but then I'm out of money. And
Mm,
so unless I can find people to support the continuation of the series,
mm,
that's going to be it. I'm
yeah.
gonna end up and I'm gonna the whole thing's gonna came up the coast, ends in New York City. So we'll see. We'll see. You
That's
know what?
awesome. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Well,
Yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead. You go ahead.
What we were doing. So in the chat,
Yeah.
that's the link to the first episode, right?
Yes, yes. I can put it also later in the description.
Okay.
Yeah. You wanted to play a little bit for people? We just
No,
played it.
we played that beginning. I don't want to bore
Okay.
people with
Okay.
it here. I'd rather have people. So that's the first episode. Please go and watch the first episode. I think you'll find it very entertaining and very informative. It really is a cross section of America, and that episode leads me to go across America. It's like, why did I do this? What's the quest? So
Mm-hmm.
it's China, it's America, it's the quest. Then the
Mm-hmm.
second episode, which I'm just starting to publish now, I've just put the episode link in here. The second episode starts in Florida, and we work our way up the coast. And so, I've never owned a van, so that's pretty funny. I do a lot of
Mm-hmm.
stupid things. I'd never, so I went to a motorcycle rally, and there was a street fight. And I haven't seen people having a fist fight and I can't remember how long, right? It was shocking to me. I mean, I think other people are more comfortable or more aware of that, or it's just more a common sight. I mean, I was in Daytona Beach, which is kind of a party town, and then I met Christian nationalists, right? I met people who believe that America was founded as a Christian nation, should be run as a Christian nation, that people should be biblical citizens. This is just way outside of my experience. And the people were so sweet and so lovely. And we sang Amazing Grace together, and we had this great experience. But I didn't
Beautiful.
understand. I didn't understand. Well, until a year later,
Yeah.
they communicated back, no, we won't let you use all the footage. And they wouldn't give me any reason why. So that's when I went and investigated. So what are these organizations they're working with, and what is Patriot Academy and biblical citizens, being a biblical citizen? What is that?
Uh-huh.
And so, yeah. So
What
that
is
was
this? Yeah. What is
what,
this thing?
what is what thing?
I am looking at your YouTube channel, and there's called Return to the Belly of the Dragon 2 years ago. But can we play a little bit?
Well,
Very interesting.
that's about finding the Liu family.
Yeah, can
So,
we watch just a little bit? I think it's very
okay.
interesting. Just a little bit, yeah.
Have you
Because
seen it?
I don't remember. I may see it, but I think it's
In 1994, I rode a bicycle across China, and I met all these warm, generous people who invited us into their homes, who invited us to a wedding, even to a funeral. Now, China's changed so much in 20 years. Me too. I'd like to go see, how are my old friends doing? How have their lives changed? How about these children? How have they grown up? Well, now I'm ready to go find out. I'm Peter Crosby, a photojournalist who covers Asia. Our crazy ambition is to ride from Beijing, the capital, through the rural belly of China on south to Hong Kong. That's over 2,000 miles in 6 months. But as today's Chinese say, "Hey, why not? Try it." For weeks, we were in remote China. We became the tourist attraction wherever we went. Many people had never seen foreigners, certainly not ones with bikes. People said to us, "Why are you doing this? Don't you have any money? Why wouldn't you take a car, a bus, or fly?" They think we must be poor if we travel by bike, but it's the bikes that make our experiences rich.
That's a great shot. That's a great shot. That's a great shot. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I encourage people to watch this. It's so amazing.
Yeah,
You,
and so
what happened with you? You were so cute.
yeah. So I started dyeing my hair white. I
Yeah.
started that just to give me so people think I'm more serious.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh,
more gravitas.
yeah. Well, that's
But
wonderful.
that
Yeah.
episode is where I meet a very, very rural family way up in the mountains. They literally live in a dirt house, and they are so poor. And they prepared a beautiful meal for me, a very special meal. They were so generous. So that's the family, the Liu family, that I went back 20 years later
Wow.
to thank them and
Yeah.
to throw a big banquet for them
Yeah.
and their
Oh,
kids and grandkids
uh-huh.
to say thank you. So that's a good story.
That's awesome. What province? What city? Or what?
Hebei,
Hebei. Hebei is very poor, right? Hebei.
very poor, very mountainous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, now, what is I know kind of the question, but I want to ask you anyway. So do you prefer now making films, than taking pictures? Because you're a photographer in the first, at the beginning.
So I think I'm more comfortable making still photographs. I like capturing the moment, right? But it's easier to tell stories with video. And so being a one person,
And
well, a one person band, or I say one hand band,
Mhm.
because you're already you're driving the van or you're taking a photograph or something. You've only got one hand free, so became a real challenge to try and cover myself having these experiences and cover other people who I'm meeting. So a lot more of a creative process to tell the story, because it's not I don't have two or three people around. So if people go and look at the China series, it's a 4 hour China. The China series is a 4 hour series made with Chinese national television and National Geographic. Here, I'm going to put that here. If you really want to have a look see at China, you can go and check out that series. It's 4 hours, and
Is it in your website or another site?
no,
Where you
that's on CGTN. That's where it's
Okay.
streaming.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's
Here.
in bits and pieces on my YouTube channel, but
Oh,
not much more.
okay. And my friend Gary is a reporter, journalist, fantastic journalist. He asked you a question. He's a photographer, actually.
Hi, Gary. Gary,
Look,
photographer,
did you see it?
journalist.
Did you see the
Yeah, I know.
question?
I see that.
Okay.
So Gary, the first time that I did the bicycle ride across China was 1994, and things are so loosey goosey that we had very few controls on us. We had very few people who thought what we were doing was wrong. But where we were going were areas of China that were quote unquote closed. So we made friends with a number of police during the 1994 journey, but nobody stopped us. I mean, two different police stations, they put us on a bus, they put us on a boat, and we just got off at the next stop and got back on our bikes and continued riding. Now, it's much more regimented. It's much more challenging to cross between provinces. So the special experience or the special circumstance of the China television series with Nat Geo and Chinese television is that we had a whole crew of people. And so I was the executive producer and the guy in front of the camera and bicycling, right? So it was bicycling as much as I could across the country during COVID when they had all these different restrictions. I think I had 28 COVID PCR tests during my journey across China. That was in 10 weeks. I had 20, every new province. Anyway, so it was much, much more controlled in 2021 when I did that journey.
So tell us a little bit about when you talk about China, and how about tell me three things you really like about China that we don't have it in United States?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if it is that we don't have it, but one of the things that struck me was because I first started going to China in the 80s, and I started going to very rural China, far out Sichuan province in the Tibetan plateau, way up in Xinjiang, and I was doing adventure journalism. Right, I was riding Tibetan ponies with yak herders. I was with sheep herders in Xinjiang. So those were like a step back in time, right? Because these lifestyles had not changed for hundreds of years, and so that was fascinating. That was, I mean, that was like literally kind of going to Oz, and in an old-fashioned sense. I mean, it sounds exotic, but it was. It was very different. Second thing is, Chinese food is so good, man. It's so,
Yeah.
especially well, and each province and each city has their own specialty, and the food's very fresh, and the food's very fresh, and and it's healthy. And so when we were bicycling across China in 1994, we were eating all organic food that was coming right from the fields and maybe had more fertilizer in it than you should probably be eating. But the fertilizer was human waste. So now it's much more regulated, but still the food is so fresh. And then the other thing now is Chinese development has leapfrogged over development anywhere else in the world. So they've built infrastructure from scratch, right? So they went from having from having 4 kilometers of high-speed rail in 2010 to now they have 45,000 kilometers of high-speed rail. It's the most high-speed rail developed country in the world. And so that makes it very easy, very fast to travel all over the country. And it's not particularly expensive. It can be very crowded during some of the times, but the infrastructure there is, much of it is brand new. The highways are brand new. Many of the spectacular towers and the skyscrapers we see, they're only 10, 20 years old. So China right now has a real contrast between rural China, which still has a lot of challenges, is still very agrarian. People there are making more substantial livings, but once you get outside of the big cities, things kind of go back to where they were 10 or 20 years ago. Except now most people have a nice house. Most people can have an e-bike or a little car or something like that. People when I was going to China, people there were living at sub-poverty levels, the UN underneath $1 a day. There's a lot of hunger. There was a lot of malaria. There was a lot of different diseases. So, that's a big upgrade. I mean, somewhere between 400 and 800 million people from the time I first started going to China in the 1980s to now are no longer in poverty. There's lots of ways to measure it, but that would be the population of America in one generation was lifted from subsistence farming to having an income, being able to eat well, being able to have their smartphones, right? So did I answer your question? You asked for 3 things.
Yes, I want to hear 3 things
Okay.
you like about China, and
Okay.
I'm curious about it. And I was born in Shanghai, so I went through difficulty times. Do you know at those days everybody, like my parents, they make 36 yuan, 36块一天, 一个月,
Yeah.
every month, 36 yuan. That is what?
About
Say to
$4
me,
now.
yeah, $4 everybody
Yeah.
after you graduate. whether you're a doctor or journalist or
Yeah,
I don't know,
yeah.
professor, you think
Well,
what else?
it's now it's changed so much.
Uh-huh.
So now the calibration is, how do they get from people not being in poverty to, they call it the middle income gap, right, in macroeconomics. So how do they get from the average earning per price parity in China is about $9,800 per capita. In the United States is $65,000. So how do they get to what they consider a middle income country where the average per capita is $30,000 or more? Because that gives people more opportunities to start their own business, travel abroad, to like that. So that's the macroeconomic and historical challenge that China's up to right now.
Now, 3 things you cannot stand about China. Wait,
What?
if I were send Peter you to China, without you probably like to be there. But anyway, like, will you consider like a retire in China? And if not, why? 3 things you cannot stand or you cannot live without.
Well, I mean, my excuse me, living in a different culture with a different language, you're never going to be as fluent or as comfortable or understand the culture as much. And that makes you an outsider, regardless. There are plenty of foreigners that have lived there for 20 and 30 years, and they're they're married, they have families. And that would be a very different circumstance for me. Also, I like to be able to say whatever I want. And so in China, there are restrictions on well, you can say it. It's just whether anybody else can publish it or whether it can be replicated. So that's something that would not be not encouraging for me. I'm at the stage of my life where I want to say whatever the fuck I want to say. And so let's see, the third thing. I don't know.
It's a so S. S
Huh?
is the first letter. No, I'm trying to hint you.
What?
Social media.
Social media.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's tons of social media there. I
No,
mean,
you
it's
cannot.
just,
You cannot do social media in China. Like no Instagram, no Facebook, no
well,
YouTube.
They have Chinese versions, right?
Yeah, but no, not
So
global.
they have TikTok, the original,
Mm-hmm.
excuse me, the original version of TikTok is
Yeah.
called Douyin. And so
Mm-hmm.
that is
Oh,
much bigger and much more prevalent
yeah,
in China.
yeah.
The video platform I mentioned, Watermelon Video, is owned by the same company that owns TikTok and Douyin, called Bytedance. And that was a company founded 12 years ago that was like a YouTube. So that's how that company made its first money.
Mm,
Anyway, there's
mm,
plenty of social media there.
mm,
But what I want to talk about is the American troubles. I want to say troubles. The discrepancy in different people's points of view,
mm,
the lack of factual information that's agreed upon, the idea that people are looking to be part of a tribe or a group or some movement to give them a sense of purpose, to give them a sense of belonging, right? So one of the things that excuse me, one of the things that I experienced was that people in different parts of the country, right or left, didn't matter, that people all want to belong. They all want to be part of some community, of some group, of some family. And that's part of what's been evaporating in the United States. So some of these political movements, I think, are an effort to create a sense of belonging, right? So a funny thing, the People's Convoy, excuse me, the People's Convoy was an anti-vax and anti-mask protest, driving 200 long haul 18-wheeler trucks across the country and protesting as they went along. And I met them in Washington, D.C. They were driving around the Beltway and screwing up the traffic and, pissing everybody off. And because they wanted to be seen, they wanted to be heard. So normally I would just be like, give them the finger and get out of my way. But in this instance, because my journey, right, my exploration, my desire was to go find out, who are these people? Why are they doing this? So I would then go and spend a couple of nights at their base camp and talk to people about, well, why are you protesting vaccines? What are you out? Are your kids in school? Right. So it was a different mindset to go and understand what people's experience was and why they're protesting. But the thing, Ching, the thing that I saw there was they had community kitchens. They had a community medical tent. They had, excuse me, they had a communications brigade. They had these organizations creating the convoys to drive around the city. And so what it reminded me of is Occupy Wall Street. So Occupy Wall Street, completely other end of the spectrum politically, but it was the same building a ad hoc community with a kitchen and with a literacy and with a medical tent and right communications. So the same thing, people created their community, their political activism created a dynamic that I think people are longing for that's beyond the actual politics, right? So people want to belong, they want to fit in, they want to have that. Now, I don't have an answer for how to make that more readily available.
Do they let you film them and take picture of them?
Yeah. Well, part of it is, as an independent filmmaker, I don't have a whole crew behind me getting signed permission slips and everything else. I'm relying on fair use in public spaces in almost all these experiences. I mean, there's some where I spend a lot of time with somebody that I get a permission slip, but that's part of walking the edge. Also, with being as I said, a one-hand filmmaker, is some of that stuff that would normally be taken care of because there's a production company and there's assistants. That's
clipboard. You have no clipboard.
I have no clipboard. I have no clipboard. I did get the excuse me for a second.
You want to go have some water? Go get some water. You're muted. Oh, no. You want to get some water? Yeah. So, yeah, you put this link of this photographer of China Odyssey, and so people can go. And oh, I see you picture. Yeah. So, so this is an article, right?
Well, it's an article about the story, but if you scroll down, the links to each of the 4 hour-long programs is at the bottom.
Okay. I see it. There's yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5,
And
6.
one of the things that was really instrumental into making that journey come true and making the first journey in 1994 come true was I was sponsored by bicycle companies. So in 1994, I was sponsored by the traditional company Flying Pigeon. And Flying Pigeon, they made custom-made bikes for me. And on this journey, I was sponsored by Specialized, which is actually an American company. It's the largest American manufacturer of bicycles. So Specialized helped me bicycle across China. And then when I came back to the United States, they were very supportive about my trip across the United States. Specialized makes, everything from high-end racing bikes to now they make e-bikes as well.
Highlight of his life.
Yeah.
From Beijing to Hong Kong,
Can you see it?
3,000 kilometers, 19,400
Can you see it?
11 flat tires, and 1 hospital stay. An epic experience that completely changed his view
I'm going
of
to pull
China.
the audio so you can talk. So this is really well filmed.
It's beautiful. Yeah. Well, I mean, this was because we because it was delayed by 1 year by politics, And then by another 6 months, because of COVID, the organization, the co-production company, was able to get more funding, was able to get more sponsors. So all of a sudden, what started out as what I thought was going to be, 5 guys, a van, a car, and me, how that started out in our planning in 2019, all of a sudden, this was filmed with 15 people.
Wow.
This is a professional television production. And so everything, it looks great. It's well done. It's film quality production. So, I mean, I was very lucky to have that experience, but I had very little control over the content.
I
Right?
see.
So
I
at the
see.
end of the day,
Yeah.
the Chinese co-production company and Chinese censorship, they had the final say on what is the story.
Right.
Now, there's a
Right.
National Geographic version, which is shorter, and I got to write, and I got the voice, and that showed in Asia for 3 weeks, but now I can't find it, and they aren't airing in America, so that kind of disappeared. So that's one of the reasons when I came back to the United States, I want to produce, direct, edit, film. I want to, all of this is going to be my property and my storytelling. So that's kind of in reaction to being, being in front of the camera. Now I have to do everything. And so, but I have more ownership. I have more control. So we'll see. I hope I can get the sort of marketing savvy and get people excited about continuing this series in January by doing some fundraising, some crowdfunding, some begging on the streets, see if I can get some money to complete the series.
Wow, that's beautiful. I want you. Are you getting some exercise? Are you getting some check out your lung, your COVID? Is it during COVID?
Yes, COVID. Well, it was both were during COVID. So the I've never had COVID, and so even though I've met all these different people and traveled across China and traveled across America, I haven't had COVID. But I take the vaccines whenever I can. I believe in vaccines. My mom was a nurse, so we have my nephew's a nurse. So we have I believe in vaccines. So one other way that I'm raising money to continue the series is I have a photographic website where I sell photos. And so I put the URL, Peter's Pics.
Oh
Peter's
yeah, I
Pic,
know.
in
I
the
know.
chat. So if people want to go there and sign up, I'm happy to give folks from this chat or from this program a 20% discount so that they can get something before Christmas. Everything from, large format photos to coffee cups, tote bags, notepads or notes, greeting cards that have beautiful photography from China, from America, from all over Southeast Asia. So check out peterspics.com.
Peter's Pics. Yeah, hold on. Oh, it's right here, isn't it? Hold on. I'm trying to show. Is this the one?
Yep.
Okay. Cool. So people can click on it and order the prints?
Yeah, you can order prints, frame prints on metal. You can order gift cards. You can order tote bags, pillows. So for people, there's a lot of very exciting China photos, and there's also a lot of America photos. I'd never been to a rodeo before, and so when I went to the first rodeo, I went as a media person, and I kept walking around saying, "It's my first rodeo. It's my first rodeo. Hey, it's my first rodeo." People got real tired of that, but I ended up going to 4. And so I just fell in love with the culture of rodeo, of the West, of the cowboy experience. And so there's a lot of photos of kind of Americana and out West and rodeos and things like that. So I spent a lot of time on Native American reservations, Indian reservations, they will call them. Went to the Indian National Finals Rodeo, because that's a big deal. The rodeo in the Native American community is a big deal, very traditional. And so, I really got a huge dose of America that I'm sharing with people on peterspicks.com, and hope you'll find something that you like. And it's still time for Christmas, still time for Hanukkah, still time for New
Beautiful,
Year's.
beautiful, beautiful. Yay.
Yay.
Awesome. So, now, what's next? Like in 5 years, what is your wish or
Well,
what
is
you
this like
want?
an interview question? I mean,
Yes.
like a job question, a job
Yes.
application? Okay.
Yeah.
Or it's a dating question. Are you trying to lead me somewhere? Dating?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm a good matchmaker.
Okay. I have been out of the ball game for so long, and now I
Yeah,
don't care.
you
Um,
forgot.
the so I'm going to continue this series. The origin of the American series was also, I wanted to bring Chinese bicyclists to America to ride across America, just as I've done across China. I wanted to have a bicultural experience, filmed well by Discovery or Nat Geo or one of the big production companies, Netflix, and bicycle across the United States in 2026, because that's it's the 250th anniversary of America. It's our sesquibicentennial. So that's the big project that I'm hoping for. But the politics have gotten more and more difficult, and so the funding for that becomes more difficult. I'm not sure how much the China production companies that I worked with and funding sources are interested in having Chinese bicyclists come here and discover that America's not as racist, not as violent, not as dangerous as I think a lot of people outside America perceive us. So that's 2026. Meanwhile, I'm just going to keep doing adventures. In February, I'm headed to the huge. It is the largest spiritual gathering in the world, bigger even than the Hajj in Saudi Arabia. This is in northern India. It's called Kumbh Mela, and it's about the spiritual life of mostly Hindus, and the sadhus are the wise old men for the most part. And so for 2 weeks, they have ceremonies and they bathe in the Ganges, but it's 1.5 million people. It's
Wow.
1.5 million people all in this one little valley, all with the Ganges. So it's a photographer's, dream to be in a place where it's festive, it's sanctimonious, it's spiritual. Anyway, so I'm going to go do that for a couple of weeks. That's what I'm doing for my, believe
That's
it or not,
awesome.
I'm going to be 70 years old.
Really?
I'm
Wow.
going
Wow.
from, that's what I'm going to do for my 70th birthday. Is
Yes, give
go up
yourself
there,
a present.
go up there with 30 pounds of camera gear on my back and spend 2 weeks making photographs of wild people in beautiful
Oh,
places.
that sounds so awesome. So awesome. One question is that I met you a few years ago, and now I met you again just like 3 weeks ago. We had a pizza, we had a drink, not alcohol, no alcohol for me. But tell me what you get from Doc NYC, Documentary Festival NYC. Just like, yeah, very short version.
Yeah, Doc NYC. I mean, it's very inspiring because you see fabulous films and you meet documentary filmmakers. Lots of times people work on their films for 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 years. And so there's a lot of euphoria there when people are finally showing their films. And it's also very intimidating because you see the brilliance of these films that are being made by, humble folks that have just been dedicated to it. Oftentimes they're very personal stories. And so it's both inspiring and intimidating. So, that in many ways, that's life, right? We have to be willing to go forth, make mistakes, screw up, keep making these big jumps into new thing. I say, in leaping forward, and for better or worse, that's always been my pattern, is to make big jumps into new companies, new businesses, new professions. So Doc NYC just reminds me of that life is what we make it.
Exactly. Well, so well said. Yes, Peter, we're almost time. And where can people find you? Can you announce yourself one more time? And what would you like people to know other than getting the photo things? And what is important video or film or series you want us to watch?
Well, the American series to me is the most important thing. I've put my heart and soul into that, and because I think it's.
What? I can hear you.
Oh, you know what I think? I've got.
What happened?
I'm not sure. I was what I wanted to do was wanted to bring up my YouTube channel.
Yeah, I think I already have a YouTube channel. You want me to bring it up? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll bring your YouTube channel, man. No problem.
Sorry.
Okay, no, it's okay.
Well, no, we've got.
That's okay. What is your name? Are you related to Crosby?
I just got closed. I closed it like a
No,
dozen.
I found
Like a
it. I
dozen
found it.
windows.
I
So
found it. I found it.
yeah.
Okay.
So Crosby.
Oh, shit, yeah.
So did you put my channel address in there?
Hold on.
YouTube channel.
Yeah, I will do it afterward because I cannot do
Okay.
it right now. So,
Okay.
but I found it now. Yeah, here.
Yeah. So just
Ta-da!
in every social media channel, I'm just P.S. Crosby.
Oh, yeah. What is Sherman? Sherman is your middle name, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, there's so many. Peter Crosby is such a common name
Oh, okay.
that I just started using my middle name, but it's really awkward. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but that's how you can find me. P.S. Crosby.
Okay. So maybe awkward means related to some famous people, right? Yeah.
No.
No?
If I was related to some famous people, I wouldn't have to be doing fundraising.
Oh.
So,
okay.
but Crosby is a very,
thinking.
very, very American name.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's very nice. Nice name. Yeah. So I will put these links in
Great.
the description. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You.
Well, it's been great pleasure, Peter. Talk
My
to you,
pleasure,
and
Ching
we can talk.
Juhl.
Yeah, I want to talk more maybe next year.
Yeah.
2025.
Yeah. The marvelous Ching Juhl Media platform. Good
Thank
job.
you. Thank you so much. Okay,
Thank
well,
you.
stay cool in Arizona. We have to
Well,
stay
it's winter.
warm.
It's cool. Take care of yourself. Thank you.
You too.
I hope we
Take
got
care,
some folks
Peter.
to watch it. Take care.
Yes, I
See ya.
hope so. Yeah. Okay.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Gary. See you, Gary. Bye-bye.
Bye. I click on end stream. Oh, Peter, before you go.